Hello, welcome to my second Volvo C70 video, and on this video we discussed taking the car for a test drive. Now, following my first buyer's guide review video, I had a few people PM me saying that, I'd like to buy a C70, I've seen one for sale at a car lot down the road and I want to arrange a test drive, what things do I look out for? And I haven't answered these, but I thought it was getting a bit repetitive, so if I did a video on this subject, then it'll give people a general idea. Now, of course, most people know how to test drive a car, and I'm not trying to tell anyone how to suck eggs, so just bear with me on that. Okay, I want to start with some sort of basics. Now, of course, these cars are quite old now, so you're not going to find a Volvo C70 Mk1 in a dealership like this. Those days are long gone. So you're more likely to find one in the small car yard, a small car lot, something like that, which ain't a bad thing. You can still get a good buy from these people, and you might get a bit of warranty as well. Also, paying for the car will be easier because you can normally use a charge card and it saves you using cash. Most dealers in the UK are governed by a certain amount of laws, but just watch out for a couple of fellas like these guys. Just avoid these like the plague. Now, you may prefer to buy privately, and there's nothing wrong in that. You might just get a slightly better bargain. But of course, there's one or two more risks in doing it this way. Should you find a fault with the car, then yeah, it's going to be a bit more difficult to reject it later on. Also, think of your safety meeting strange people, especially if you're female. I would advise any person to go with a friend. And of course, 2 pair of eyes are better than 1 when looking at the car. Always try and meet at the seller's house, and always in daylight. You don't want to be sort of going around at night time, because there's more chance that you'll miss something on the car. Avoid at all costs going to meet somewhere in a pub, and also dodgy places like campsites and underground car parks. If you decide to pay cash for the car, then don't go first time with a whole wad of cash. Just take a small nominal deposit. Okay, safety hat off. Now let's get on with test driving that car. Okay, now this advice applies whether you're going to a dealership or you're buying privately. Now, when you want to drive the car, you want to make sure that you drive the car with the hood up. Why is this? Well, it's quite simple, because with the hood up you're going to hear more of the transmission and the engine and the knocks and the groans that's going on inside the car. Likewise, once you're in the car, make sure that all the windows are up as well. If it's a hot day, you can always use the air conditioning if you need to, but I'd advise you to have as much things switched off as possible. The stereo for a start, you don't want that on, and and even the actual heater fan, I'd advise you switch that off as well. You want the car as quiet as possible because you want to hear everything. So okay, let's take this Mk1 C70 2005 for a spin as if I was going to buy the car. So that's everything switched off, and then start up and away we go. Now, personally, I think it's really important that if you drive the car yourself, your insurance might be a factor if you're going to view privately. Most people would have got fully comprehensive insurance. You're covered to drive someone else's car. If you go to a dealership, well, they might put trade plates on. You might actually drive under their insurance. But either way, it's a good idea to take your driving licence and your insurance policy with you just in case you get asked. But it is important you get behind the wheel of the car yourself, because that's the only way you're going to get a real feel for the car. Now, you want to take the car for quite a long test drive. I would say minimum probably 6 or 7 miles, maybe further, hopefully. Best if you can sort of go on a variety of roads. Obviously you may start out around town. That's fine. Speed bumps are pretty good for finding problems with the suspension, and hopefully sort of find some sort of more open roads later on as the car gets warmed up. And it's always a good idea to drive the car from cold if possible as well. So as you're warming the car up and you're driving along, just keep glancing at the dashboard for the first couple of miles to make sure no warning lights suddenly pop up. Now, one of the first things that I always test on a strange car is the brakes. It's quite easy to test the sort of brakes. Just get the car on a clear piece of road, speed up to about 50 miles an hour, and then squeeze hard on the brakes. We're not talking emergency stop here, because that's only going to prove whether the ABS is going to work, and you've got a warning system for that on the Volvo anyway. So I'll just do it again. Get a clear stretch of road, get up to 50 miles an hour, and then squeeze hard on the brakes, and release your hands from the steering wheel. Just hold them with the palms of your hands like this, and just feel the steering. What you want is you want the car to sort of brake and track in a straight line. You don't suddenly want it to pull in either direction, telling you that possibly you've got brake fade issues or caliper sticking, or even worse, maybe a bent wishbone or even the alignment of the car. So that's quite important to do that sort of fairly first thing, but it's maybe a good idea to sort of give your passenger a bit of a warning when you're going along. Another thing you can test once you've got a clear piece of road is the cruise control, just on this little stalk here. Just sort of switch it on to activated and just sort of click the little rocker button up or down to see if it slows down and speeds up, and also just sort of hit the brake pedal slightly to make sure that it disengages quite smoothly, and then re-engage it to make sure once again that it comes in quite smooth. So as you go along, start listening for sort of knocks and groans, especially on these C70s. These are very sort of heavy cars really, and especially around the sort of front end. The top turret mounts, the rubbers can sort of go sort of round about this sort of age of the car. So just sort of listen for any sort of like real sort of heavy knocks as you sort of go over sort of bumps and things in the road. Likewise, also sort of groans on the sort of suspension. Things like perhaps indicating maybe one of the springs could be fractured or snapped even. And other things sort of like around the sort of front end, make sure that the steering is smooth. There's no kind of like coarseness to the steering, no notchiness. It should just track down the road in a nice straight line. If you're driving a manual car, then pay a special attention to the clutch. Make sure the gear changes are nice and sort of smooth. You don't want any sort of crunching as you sort of go into gear. And also the operation of the gear lever itself, it should be silky smooth on these cars. They've got a great manual box, so you shouldn't have any trouble there at all. Also with the clutch, when you pull away from a junction, you don't want to feel any sort of juddering or any hesitancy from the clutch. A nice smooth action. A good way to test for clutch slip is, if it's possible of course, if you come across on your road test, if you've got a slight sort of incline, a slight hill, put the car into sort of higher gear, typically sort of 4th gear, and then accelerate quite harshly, and just make sure that the car accelerates smoothly and the actual revs on the tachometer don't increase quicker than the car is actually accelerating. That would indicate that you might be suffering from some clutch slip. Whilst you're doing that test, if you've got a friend along, it'd be an idea for him just to have a look out the back window, and once the car is under full load going uphill on full throttle, he'll be able to check to see if there's any sort of smoke coming out the back of the car, which is not always a good sign. So if you're driving the auto, well, what you really want is an ultra smooth gear change. You shouldn't really be able to detect the gear changes unless you're under full load. They are very good, both the 4 and the 5-speed box on these Volvos, silky smooth. No clonks, no groans, no shuddering, anything like that. You really want and should expect a very, very smooth gear change. So of course, all of these cars are turbocharged, 2 litre right up to 2.3 T5. So all of them have got quite a nice bit of sort of kick in the back, good overtaking sort of power. So hopefully on your journey you'll get a nice sort of bit of straight road and you can sort of test the boost. Now, when you do this, what you want is a nice spool up of the turbo, pretty much an instantaneous response, and listen for any signs of whistlings or air leaks. So there you go, like on my car there, it just does the business really. It just picks up sort of quite efficiently. As I say, you might notice a slight bit of turbo lag, especially on the auto box, because it will kick down. So, but once the power comes on, it should be sort of silky smooth. Now, whilst talking about power delivery, on the forums, certainly, possibly the 2 litre auto, it gets criticised quite badly, for sort of lack of power. But this 2.4, I don't find it any problem at all. I mean, you see behind this Mini here, I'm going to overtake this one in a sec. Yeah, you got a little slight delay on the kick down, but once the car picks up, it just blasts past. I've never find overtaking a problem at all. Bearing in mind, these are very, as I say before, these are heavy cars. They're cruisers. They're not sports cars. They deserve a little bit of respect now they're getting older. They're just sort of luxury barges, just for kind of like smoking about really with the top down. But performance-wise, everyone always asks for this, but I find the 2.4 low-pressure turbo completely adequate for most things on the road. And if you drive it carefully, then it can be relatively economical. So that's really all about you can do on a test drive. As I say, keep an eye on the temperature gauge and any dash lights, things like that, and just enjoy the drive. These cars drive very, very smooth. It should be quiet. You might get a little bit of creaking from the hood and possibly the dashboard that's called scuttle shake. Unfortunately, these cars suffer with that as they get older. I think the only thing, if you're driving an auto, you really do need to test the kick down, and rather like driving up a hill. On a manual car, you can put the car under the full amount of strain and it will give you an idea if there is any problem with the engine or transmission. So to test the kick down on a turbo is simplicity itself. Just ease off and get a nice straight piece of road, let the cars in front of you get ahead. Check your mirrors for the old bill, because you're going to be motoring. Try and get the car up to a sort of steady 45 or 50 miles an hour, and simply shove your foot to the floor and hang on. And there you go, you just lost your licence. No, seriously. Hopefully, you want the car to pick up smoothly, no clonks and bangs from the transmission as it kicks down, and everything to pull nice and smooth. So that's about it really. I think that's about all I can tell you about the Volvo sort of C70. It's a very strong car, it does wear out, things go wrong like you'd expect, mostly around the suspension joints and things like that. As I said, keep saying it is a heavy car, but generally gearboxes and engines and turbos are pretty strong, right up to sort of well over 100,000 miles, 150,000. The engines and blocks themselves, they'll go on for 250,000 miles as long as they're well serviced. So it's a pretty dependable car. It's certainly in its class. Anyway, hope this video was helpful to you. Please like or subscribe, that's always appreciated. But just for now, I'd like to say cheers, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.